Cancer season, full moon in Capricorn is coming up July 10th. Today's July 4th in 2025. So today we have Venus in Gemini, and that's going to be like that until the end of July. Venus in Gemini can feel light and can feel flirty. It's kind of the energy of when the little kids, Gemini rules like adolescence. So we're talking like preteen and early teen years, when they're shy and they're at the opposite ends of the gymnasium, school dance, and everybody's too shy to get to the other side to like introduce themselves to do the dance or whatever. And then they get over that shyness. It's that when Venus goes into Gemini, all of a sudden everybody's chatting. And those of us who have been, really wrapped up in our technology, which is also ruled by Venus, which is also ruled by Gemini and ruled by Venus right now because Gemini's there. But those of us who have been maybe like more introverted are all of a sudden like, oh my God, somebody's talking to me, like, woo, hee, yeah. And it can feel flirty. Venus is not necessarily about love. It's about friendship, in astrology anyway. It's different. It's similar, but yet different to the old myth. So it's more of a friendly type energy. It's, Gemini presents one face and one side to things, while also feeling and thinking the opposite. So it's really good at being like, it could be a spy, but it's not necessarily like really great at it. Not like a Scorpio would be, but like it can be two-sided. They call it two-faced almost. Gemini also rules airwaves. So it's like when you turn on the radio, it's like the DJ is in the house with you or in the car with you, but they're not. So it is, but it isn't. It's a little Schrodinger cat in a way. So Venus being there, it makes things a little lighter. It's been in Taurus for a long time now. And so it's moving out of this dense type energy. Whereas, Uranus has been in Taurus for a long time. So Uranus on Monday, the 7th of July, just a few days from now, will also be joining Venus in Gemini. So Uranus will be in Gemini, and Uranus, make jokes about that as you will. Every time I hear Uranus, I become very Gemini, like a 15-year-old sense of humor, because it's funny. It's a really funny word, and it's a funny name. Words are magic. So think of it in that way if you want to. It's not just the way we make an A of ourselves, but it is unexpected stuff that's going to be happening with our airwaves, with our air, and the air in our atmosphere. Gemini has to do with the air closest to our faces and our lives and daily lives. This Uranus moving into Gemini, the constellation of Gemini, it's like the first time in not just our lives, but it would be the first time in your grandparents' lives, your great-grandparents' lives. This hasn't happened. It happens like once every 84 years. Okay, so if anyone's over 84 years old, you've had this experience before with Uranus and Gemini. Unexpected things where you just say the thing. It's like you just say a word and it just like makes the door open, like open sesame, and boom, the door opens. Like it's magic almost with your words. So yeah, this happens every 84 years. So it did happen for your grandparents, maybe, depending on if they're over 84 years old. And it did happen for your great-grandparents. But not, it's once a century. Not a whole lot of people alive have experienced this. So we also have the full moon coming up on July 10th, and it's in Capricorn. Right between right now and July 10th, which is Thursday, which is about a week from now when I'm recording this, is a great time to just finish up all your projects. Capricorn loves achievement. And we have some Aries aspects and Aries loves projects. So, getting them started is as good as like finishing them. Just do it. Neptune and Saturn are conjunct in Aries. Now, this is this thing that hasn't happened in many lifetimes. Maybe it happened back in the 1500s. And that's only if there weren't retrogrades keeping it from happening back in the 1500s. So Neptune and Saturn being conjunct in Aries. Aries is also a very childlike energy. So we have a lot of childlike energy happening. And where I happen to live in the Northern Hemisphere in the United States and California, people are really into their psychedelics again. I mean, really, really, like almost everyone I know is like on these psychedelics every day, and some days they accidentally take too much and they're just loving it, and it gets them in touch with their inner child if they don't take too much. If they take too much, everything gets kind of wonky. Well, Neptune and Saturn, that's one example. It has to do with Neptune rules like drugs, and it rules like our dreams. It rules our meditations, and it rules because Pisces has so much to do with it. It can also rule. These are very slow-moving planets that only change their degrees once in a very great while. So this hasn't your great-grandparents. If your great-great-grandparents were alive, they probably didn't even experience this, because it's literally been a Neptune-Saturn conjunction happens like every 35 years or so, and there's 12. There's like 12 opportunities at least in just the zodiac for that to occur. So it's huge. It's like it's more than a once in a lifetime experience. And it's in this, Aries is not like teenager, like Gemini energy, but it's more like the baby. And it's like trailblazing. It's brand new. So we've got a lot of, almost everyone's going through huge transformation and changes. Are they transforming? I don't know as much as I don't know if they're transforming as much as I do know that they are changing, having changes happen. Uranus's unexpected changes. And this is a great time to shake off any long-lasting ruts of patterns of behavior, especially around addiction. We were talking about psychedelics, and people, if they don't dose out their psychedelics every day in the correct way, like sometimes it can be too much. And so Saturn has to do with structure, and Neptune and Saturn being together, they're like holding hands, and they are in Aries, the constellation of like, go get them, start something new. It's about learning the structure. So whether it's your drugs that you're learning the structure with, or whether it's that you're learning structure that there's consequences with addictions that are unaddressed, it could even be anything that's altering, like sugar. For me is extremely altering, and for a lot of us actually, because a lot of us come from alcoholism, and that's in our hereditary bloodline. And any of us who have alcoholism in our hereditary bloodline are sensitive to sugar. And if we're not craving sweets, we are craving things like that are made with corn, which is the same as sugar. It could even be savory, but it's made with sugar, because corn is sugar now, because it's been modified so greatly. So we're going to be just really, it's going to feel like a new life for so many people in so many ways. Neptune can be about, it's really tricky because Gemini, it's got two faces, you know, it's like on the one hand it's this, on the other hand it's that. And which is the truth? Are they both partly true, or are they both partly untrue? And they both are. And so it's really interesting because it's the duality and the polar opposites coming together to work together. And Neptune is, it's so different than Saturn. So it's really interesting. Like Neptune is about like the dream world. So Neptune energy, and what can happen with Neptune energy, it's like this. You're walking along a body of water that's moving, a moving body of water. I'm going to use the ocean as an example, but maybe you've experienced this on a lake with moving water. But you're walking along the shore and you're just looking at the water and you're feeling the water come over your feet. And then before you know it, the water is up to your knees or your hips, or you're even knocked over by a wave. You're in the water. The water's moving. You can feel the wave. You can like just kind of tap on the bottom of the ground a little bit and it lifts you. The wave will lift you. And you're just like over it, just kind of bobbing along, right? But they say don't turn your back on the sea. And I think about this a lot. Like I try to remind myself, like, because I think of myself, like, don't turn my back on myself, because we're made of mostly water. But the reason why you don't turn your back on the sea is it wipes you out. It'll just like, so Neptune can be like that. It's kind of like, it can also rule medicine in some ways. Like medicine can really help, but if you're not careful, it can also really hinder. So it's like, if you just give yourself over to the powers that be to heal externally, and then you stop listening to your internal rhythm, and you stop paying attention to how your internal rhythm resonates or does not resonate with the external rhythm, and you stop paying attention to both and paying attention to the actions that need to happen, because Aries rules actions in regards to both. So Saturn rules structure and Neptune rules like this kind of, if you accidentally take your medicine too many times and you forget that you already took it, you're screwed. Sometimes it's about getting some structure around these things, because all medicines can be poison, but poison can also be medicine. And it's kind of, where do you draw the line? And people are going to start seeing like consequences for unaddressed addiction issues and things like that. We have Cancer going into Jupiter, or Cancer's in Jupiter. Jupiter's in the constellation of Cancer is what I mean. So we have huge feelings. I mean, feeling, and we are supposed to be learning something about feelings and how we use these feelings. And Neptune can be like feelings too. I mean, it's really easy with like the water to just get the sound of it, the feeling of it, the motion of it, everything about it can bring up these feelings that can feel very soothing or good. And then boom, you can get swept away, or you have to pay attention. So Cancer rules feelings, and Jupiter is expanding that, and that's going to be going on until next June. And I think that this is huge as far as a lesson that we're supposed to be learning, because June 9th is when Jupiter comes out of Cancer, and 6 and 9 just fit together so well. It just makes me feel like, okay, yeah, there's definitely something we're supposed to be learning about harnessing feelings and the power of feelings. And it's a hidden, the power. I did another video on the power of feelings and what those are for. So Neptune's going to go retrograde until December, and October 22nd it goes back into Pisces. So I described this before in another video as it's like we're in a classroom and we're being given what the curriculum's going to be for like the next year, and we have our instinctual knowledge and we have our soul knowledge, and now it's time to do some work on our instincts, and we're going to be doing review. A lot of people since the new moon, which was about a week ago, have been having memories of their childhood, and that makes a lot of sense because Cancer rules our history, her story, their story, whatever you want to call it. The history of humankind is that's Cancer's area. Cancer looks to the past to be able to discern what is supposed to happen in the future, and what's supposed to happen now, so that we can stop repeating mistakes from the past and start doing things different, so that we're not just revolving in the same circle, but we're leveling. We're actually getting somewhere. We're evolving, we're revolving, we're not just spinning in circles, we're going forward. So to go forward, we need to learn from what's happened in the past. And it's interesting because Gemini rules writing, and it rules technology, and a lot of the things on the internet, which is a lot of our libraries have been digitalized. Our libraries that, like the Library of Alexandria was burned down, but in modern times, a lot of our libraries have been digitalized, and the internet has been scrubbed. So when you go to research something that might be considered taboo by organized religions, by dominant cultures or organized religions, you're not going to find the same answers that you found a year or 2 or 3 or 4 ago. And a year or 2 or 3 or 4 ago, you could have researched something, and then there would have been more information, and there would have been little citations that would have told you where to go to find that information had been peer reviewed and had been checked for accuracy, among other older writings and in current findings and discoveries. Well, now a lot of that has been just kind of wiped away, and it's been that's not godly is kind of what the answers are for some of these things. And it comes from the Bible, and it's things like words that weren't around necessarily in that era. They were around when the writings from that era were rewritten by and under the authority of King James, for example. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of power in writing right now. There's a lot of it's important to be paying attention to the history of humanity, especially the history that we're not allowed to know about or that we're not allowed to talk about. It's so important right now. Okay, so a lot of us have been having childhood flashbacks, and that makes a lot of sense because Cancer rules that. It rules not just your own past and humanity's past, but it rules the past. And Aries is, the feeling of action, which is very young in Gemini. So we've got these young energies. And in October, we're going to be returning back to okay, this is your soul's encoding. But between now and October, we're going to be practicing our instincts. We're going to be practicing all of the knowledge that our soul came to this planet with, and how we embody that while still learning about how to instinctually be. And then we're going to go back to the drawing board until December and get some more lessons. So these are 4 planets, our celestial bodies that are very slow moving, and they've made changes this year, and that's just, it's so rare, and it means a lot. So I'm going to do a drawing for what would help us between now and our full moon, which is in Capricorn on July 10th. Between now and then is a great time to finish up any projects. Go for it. Do it. Capricorn loves achievements and feels good. And Aries loves to just take action and get things started. So getting started is as good as finishing. Just do it. And then So anything that we start now, this is a great time to start things with this Uranus transit. It's a really great time to shake off any bad habits. But with this Aries, Neptune and Saturn holding hands for the first time in many, many lifetimes. There isn't a human alive on this planet, and there hasn't been for quite some time, that has ever experienced this conjunction of starting something new. So it's like new Earth. So anything you start now, it's very important, and let's see what you need to know between now and then. You'll be seeing the fruition of whatever you start now, or even whatever you get rid of. You'll see some things growing in its place by December of 2025. So we have apple, and it says forbidden. So I see apple cider vinegar. I'm just going to mention apple cider vinegar is great for getting rid of mold. That's the first thing that pops to my mind. Vinegar is great for getting rid of mold. It's there's a lot of things that we take in that have mold, like coffee is full of mold, peanut butter is full of mold. So getting rid of mold is great. The Bible story of Adam and Eve. So a lot of people think of Eve ate from the tree of knowledge. They just call it the tree of knowledge. But it was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So basically, before Eve ever ate from that tree, Adam and Eve never knew that there was such a thing as good or bad. They were just going to live forever. And if you were to live forever, your immortality has no reason to have morality. It's mortality that creates morality. So it's the fact that we know that we are going to die and that others can die because of our actions or inactions that creates morals and creates responsibility. So it was up to them whether or not they wanted to take this knowledge that there's a good and there's a right way of doing things and there's a wrong way of doing things. And we all have the free will to decide to engage with the idea of morals, and to know that there is such a thing as morals. And before that, they maybe didn't even notice if they sat on a bee, because they didn't have any barrier on their bums to protect them from sitting on a bee. But once they ate of this, all of a sudden they were like, wait a minute, if I sit on a bee right now, it's really going to stink. So it's saying, do what you can to know what's right and what's wrong. What you've been told is right and wrong may not be accurate. There's a lot of mold getting in the way. I don't know where that's come from, but yeah, mold. Apple cider is great. Vinegar is great for cleaning. Okay, one more card. This is... okay, I'm going to read the definition of that one too. Okay, there's another card. And the definition, here we go. So take this, reading for how it applies to you. Whatever it is that you're trying to bring in or let go of. Don't ignore what's forbidden. One bite uncovers all that's hidden. A star of seeds revealed. Enlightenment now claimed and sealed. This magic is worked with harm to none, so mote it be, there it is done. Why is it that whenever you're prohibited from doing or having something, you covet it all the more? That piece of cake or that glass of wine that you've denied calls out to you. Oh, that reminds me, because they're talking about wine and cake. So any of us who have alcoholism, there's a lot of planets that have had a lot to do with addiction and things. So any of us who have alcoholism in our family, we're sensitive to sugar. I don't know if I already said this, but sugars and everything, especially anything with corn in it, vinegar helps with that. So vinegar. And there's vinegar in the card, apple cider vinegar. Okay, so that piece of cake, that glass of wine you've been denied calls out to you. Since the story of Adam and Eve, I have been blamed for revealing that which was shrouded. I am the forbidden fruit, but not because I'm bad for you. Oh no, it's because I unveiled that which is hidden. When you slice me in half, my 5 seeds reveal a star. I invite you to bite through my ripe skin to taste my sweet flesh, for I am the fruit of the tree of life, who holds the knowledge of all that humankind seeks. However, you would be wise to remember that some things are forbidden in order to keep you from harm. Okay, so that's the apple speaking to you. The apple is saying, go ahead and eat. But just because there's some things that may not be bad, that you were taught were bad, it doesn't mean that, some things aren't like harmful. So you're gonna, it's inviting you to like have discernment. And then there's a recipe for apple cider vinegar. And the apple was first spoken about in the book of Genesis as being forbidden. Today, this fruit is used to heal many different ailments. An old saying says the apple a day keeps the doctor away. Okay, and then this is another card. So sometime between, it says learn from life. So between now and December, or now July 4th and July 10th, this is learn from life. You see somebody's, so this is actually reminding me, okay, so we have a broom here. See, this is a story that you're not going to find on the internet because the internet's been scrubbed from this kind of information. And I don't know if it was, well, I found this out in books when I was a teenager. So long ago, I read in a variety of books and learned this. But I wanted to know, what is this whole thing about women on brooms? Like, where did that come from? I was really curious. I'm like, what's this all about? I had never, maybe as a kid, like I might have pretended that was a horse, but like, some of us had actual horses. We had access to actual horses. So like, we didn't need to like pretend. It's just like, what is that all about? Right? So, mold. Remember I was talking about this is really good for mold. And we have mold in a lot of our foods. Well, back in the day, there was mold in all the grains. It was called ergot, or it might have been pronounced ergot. And so basically people were eating these grains and they were having hallucinations from these grains. And people that worked in the fields, people had fields right outside their front door. It wasn't like you leave your house to go work in a field, or to, you leave your house and drive down around the corner to get to your field. It was like your fields were like all around you. For the commoners, right? So the most people, they would use their brooms. They use their brooms for everything, to shoo the cat, to like hit their kid over the head, to like get the kid to do something or not do something, to like bring down the spider webs, you name it. The kid, you grab whatever it is. So they were using their brooms to separate the grains when it was time for harvest, or even in between, to keep the grains separate. And as they would take the brooms while they were walking and move the grains, from a distance, it would look like these grasses and grains would get lower, and that would make the people look taller. And you would see like the brooms moving and the people moving, and it appeared as if they were, and also because everybody was high on this mold that they didn't even know that they were consuming, it appeared as if these people were like flying on brooms, and it just kind of stuck. So this is saying learn from life. Learning from life is also very Gemini. It's, air and thought and communication. So let's see, 46. Let's see what it says. Someone once said that those who do not learn from their mistakes are doomed to repeat them. Okay, so yeah, I was saying Jupiter is in Cancer right now, and Cancer is all about reviewing the past of humanity, not just your own past individually. And the reason that we review the past is so that we don't repeat the past, so that we can evolve, so that we can keep moving forward and making adjustments and changes. So have you been learning as you move through life, or are you still doing the same thing over and over and over again, wondering why your situation hasn't changed? There are many different ways to learn: books, experience, wisdom of others. But if you want to become your own best self, it's important to keep learning from life's lessons, large and small. What have you learned today? So make an effort to learn something new today. You can try something different and see what happens. Do some research, read a bit in a book by one of your favorite authors. Or you could talk to someone who has had experiences that you have not had and ask them about it. Cancer rules the archetype of the old, nurturing wisdom. So older people that have been nurturers. Older people may know a lot of things you don't. Maybe talk to a parent, grandparent, community elder, or neighbor and ask them what they've learned in their travels. This card suggests that maybe you need to be paying more attention to the lessons that the universe is sending you. Is there something that you should be doing differently, but you aren't because you haven't learned from your mistakes? Or is there some way that you could be improving your life if only you were willing to expand your knowledge? That definitely applies to me. I don't know about you. It applies to me for sure. Make sure that you're embracing life and experiencing it fully. Sometimes we need help figuring out what the lesson is that we are supposed to be taking away from a particular situation or challenge, especially if strong emotions are involved. Sit in front of a yellow or a white candle if you want to, and you can meditate. You can even put a book next to the candle to symbolize knowledge. Light the candle and say, I am willing to help myself learn from life as fully and gracefully as possible. Happy full moon. Enjoy getting all the things done. Enjoy seeing all the things come to fruition. Drink vinegar. No, I'm not licensed to give any information about nutrition. I'll be drinking vinegar. Figuring out, how to experience life, but also have discernment. There's certain things that have stood the test of time, like apple cider vinegar. This is not an advertisement for it, but there's certain things that have stood the test of time, and you can use those things as well as the wisdom from older folks and books to help you in this brand new life that we are beginning. Happy full moon in Capricorn during Cancerian season of 2025, July.